So the way I'm thinking about LLMs at the moment is that they're having the same impact on Google and search as a market in the same way that TikTok changed the way that content was served on social media in a big way and triggered a big response from the way Meta's algorithm worked. So I think it's just going to be really interesting to see how they ultimately respond over the next year or so, because of how fast the space is moving.
Yeah, I mean, LLMs are literally the first threat that Google have had in 20 years. Like Microsoft, not to go after Microsoft too much, but Bing hasn't ever come anywhere close. But this is actually a new way of people searching, which feels more holistic. And as you were saying earlier, scours the entire internet to find you the best result that you need that is personalized and tailored towards what you want, rather than just showing you a link to an article where you've got to then go and find the content within that article. Google is already battling it with its AI overview, but yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what's the next step for Google to actually make that work to keep its stock of customers against LLMs like ChatGPT.
Yeah, and to actually continue to make money.
That's the key thing. It's really hard to understand how paid ads are going to fit in with the AI overview on Google, for example.
Yeah, and it's like where like LLMs like Chat, they have paying subscribers. Their goal is to retain them by providing really good quality results that are in line with exactly what they're looking for. Whereas Google's challenge is going to be, if they retain this free search model, of how do they actually like be a trustworthy source with advertising? I think that's the really fine balance that they're going to have to really work out.
So how do you reckon Google's going to try and combat LLMs like Chat? Are they going to be able to carry on down the AI overview Gemini route? They might have to buy out one of these businesses.
Good question. I think both. I mean, Google are always acquiring interesting AI firms, and I think people are sleeping on Gemini, if I'm honest with you. I think Gemini is incredibly powerful. The different models they have in there are super, super powerful. The difference being ChatGPT is, or a Claude or these other LLMs, like that's their entire experience. Google has a separate experience where in its current form, you search like you always have and you come up with organic results that you then sift through. Gemini, Google's product, already exists in LLM form where it does a lot of this similar functionality for you. So my question is, do Google migrate towards an LLM first search model versus this sort of legacy historic one that we've always experienced with them or not? So from an acquisitions perspective, Google are always buying interesting things and will continue to do so. It's going to be interesting to see how they pivot product in line with what these other search tools are doing.
As we've said, like this is the first time Google literally faced any sort of competition or any threat to their user stock in like 15, 20 years. If you think about the Google search engine results page, that has barely changed in 10 to 15 years. It's amazing. I'm really interested to see whether Google are at least going to try and make it more the SERP more engaging or visual. I mean, AI overview is one step, but it's still very text-based. I think a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. Yeah, there are more images in the SERP now. There's a lot of reliance on Google Shopping, and that has improved a lot. But what are Google going to be able to do to keep users outside of just face-to-face battling LLMs without providing its own one or buying one?
What's the impact on all of this for e-commerce businesses who are pretty heavily reliant on Google?
It's a really good question. I would say how I can see it in the future is that Google Ads is becoming harder and harder to scale, to be perfectly honest. And with the real, I guess, clouded future of how search engines work and will look, and how paid ads are going to meld in with organic results. I do think there's going to be a shift to how people approach SEO and how much people are going to have to focus on actually optimizing their sites, not only to be crawled by Google's crawler, but also how that crawling will change in the future for AI models as well.
And I think like the collateral damage here could potentially be like affiliate sites. Like no one's going to visit them anymore, and the way they make money is essentially through people clicking on the links directly on their site or showing like display ads or programmatic ads on their sites as well. So that whole business model for me is just that is in crazy levels of jeopardy right now. Like if you're relying on traffic, if you're just getting a synthesis of all of the research results.
We should probably put a pin in our launch of the affiliates side of the business.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, I think it's ultimately just like, so I think that's just like a whole world that could just like slide into insignificance. And actually it's more about actually having like, it's going to come down to like domain authority and things in a different way for LLMs and that sort of thing. But I'm now getting way beyond my pay grade on the organic search side of things. But like, how do you make sure that your business shows up in an LLM search when someone's querying for something that's relevant to you? Yeah.
It's going to be super interesting to see how it all unfolds. Spend more money on Meta. That's probably a good takeaway. I think that GPT and Claude and other models will integrate paid search into their paid offerings anyway. I think that over time, as everyone is just like acquired as a user, which will happen in time, and people use different models and different providers, there comes a point where you want to continue growing enterprise value and revenue, and you either do that by releasing additional products, which they will continue to do, and functionality, etc., or you then integrate advertising as a core part of your business model. So I think in time, LLMs will start to integrate paid ads.
Could be a bit of an Amazon Prime video play.
Exactly that. You pay for this service, which is ad free, but then you have upsells within it.
And there's like different tiers. So like you can pay more for no ads.
I mean,
the ads need to be a deterrent then. That's that point. So like it's got to be annoying. So the reason that works with Amazon Prime is like you can start getting in midstream ads that are annoying on the stuff that you haven't, like when you're not paying enough, right? So it's like, I don't think the results should be annoying if the LLMs are providing you with value.
No, I don't think so. I think the whole model that we're seeing with Google search showing shopping, etc., and that being relevant, and that gets integrated into LLMs. I think whether it's in a shopping traditional capacity or some other format text, whatever it might be, we'll see.
At what stage of market capture do you think they can do that, though, without deterring people and pushing? If Google are following closely behind, people have trusted Google for 15, 20 years, all of their life for some people. So moving away from it, yeah, it's a shiny new object, but people often fall back into what they know. So what stage do you reckon LLMs are going to be able to start putting paid ads as part of their service without losing the small amount of market share on search they've actually already got?
I don't have the answer to that, is the honest answer. But is it interesting to think about a world where you can do advertising buys across different LLMs? Yeah, I think that is interesting. I think that is realistic. That is something that we'll see.
A lot of empty space around the results.
There's part of the beauty of them at the minute, and I like any classic SaaS tool, you acquire users cheap, and then you can start to increment prices or add auxiliary functionality that you charge for or whatever it might be. And so yes, I think it's going to be staved off for a little while because there are more and more providers coming to market with compelling technology, and that ultimately you see it with DeepSeek. Like DeepSeek got released, and then that immediately forced GPT to reduce their $200 a month plan right down to $20, to retain relevance ultimately. So I think that's going to stave off these sorts of things, price increases, etc., for advertising for a little while, but I think it's inevitable that it'll happen.
Yeah, I suppose it's like, again, it's like a whole converging thing. They're all converging to essentially the same thing. So it's like, where do LLMs go in terms of how they show the information? It's going to be the value add. Who do you trust more? Is it going to be a brand play beyond that? It's going to become marketing or become the differentiator between all the LLMs?
Exactly that. When functionality is all the same, like ease of use, design, speed, all become moat and factors that are like of interest to users.
VC money to burn to basically win the market.
Do you see one of these LLMs becoming the level of monopoly that Google's been on search in the future? If we're saying all of them are converging towards the same thing, yeah, it's an interesting one to think about. Are we going to see a monopoly like Google?
I think Google holds the crown and will continue to.
If you think about the average user, like my mum is probably not going to download Claude. She's going to just use the AI search results in Google. So they're going to win 80% minimum of market share. They already hold 99% of search market share. Yeah. All they have to do is roll this product out to them, and they've got the market. That's but it's like on them not to fuck it up. That's the big play. And there's been like a few issues for them PR-wise recently, which made them a bit more cagey about the whole AI overview stuff. I think there's something around like basically what their model like suggested you put glue in your pizza.
Oh yes, it's been pretty weak in terms of like reliability.
So it's like making sure that they don't. Well, the biggest opportunity, they've got the greatest PR risk to their business as well. So they've got to maintain that trust while also then maintaining their current business model. Yeah. But I fundamentally back them to work it out.
I also think ultimately Meta is chewing up more search. Like WhatsApp now has Meta AI integrated, has Llama integrated into it. So search results are like search and social are converging too. So like, in that space, then you still have very obvious advertising plays that exist.
And then one thing in the search space as well that we've not really talked about is TikTok search as well. That's been obviously hogging a lot of headlines. It's pretty much in its infancy, but as you say, search and social very much converging into one in the way people consume media, but also search is changing drastically. Do you think, as we've touched on, Google is going to have to make the SERP much more engaging or make at least some moves towards that? And potentially even, if you think about what a paid ad looked like 15 years ago, you'd have a great big green button underneath the link that said ad. Nowadays, it's much harder to see what is an ad and what is not. That's probably what we're going to see with its AI results, is that become more and more integrated into the search engine results page, it being harder to tell what is generated by insights like AI overview and what is traditional search before, I presume, it fully takes over. And it'll be really interesting to see how paid ads then fall into that.
Yeah, and I think what's going to be super interesting as well is like at the moment, LLMs only provide you responses in written format. So when you're talking about TikTok search, like YouTube is also a place people go for answers to things and how-to guides and stuff.
Yeah.
Google's got quite a good opportunity there to integrate like really great video responses to like, how do I do this? Like, this is actually the best video for you to watch on how to like fix your dishwasher.
That's it. Or even taking excerpts from said videos like AI Overview does right now and takes the bits of the articles that you actually want to answer your question and show you that.
Moving towards mass content personalization at scale, basically. And
all the buzzwords there.
I mean, that is true. That you're right. That is very buzzwordy, but it is mass content personalization at scale. Looking at the cameras, we say that. Like, you know, the ability, like you say, currently LLMs are providing text returns and you can generate images with them, etc. Interesting to see how that will evolve. When do they start generating their own images, their own videos? You ask for a debug on something with GPT or Claude, and it all together, all of a sudden pieces together an informative video showing you step by step how things work, or ultimately actually just uses an agent and does it for you. So very exciting times in the world of advertising and search and social and e-commerce.
So I guess to round off what we're talking about, obviously we've spoken a lot about hypothetical future of search, disruption from LLMs, what Google's going to do to respond, all this sort of stuff. But kind of bringing it back to present day, as a search advertiser, what are you looking to do now?
It's a really good question. I think we're focusing on, in the search space, is making sure that what we're showing and the ads and media we're spending in Google and search are as engaging as possible. There's a subset of the market that interacts with traditional text-based search ads, and we've seen a massive shift towards shopping-based ads over the last 5 years, and that continues. And to be fair, Google have made their shopping product much, much better and much, much more engaging. And we've seen CTRs across the industry for shopping ads like skyrocket in the last 4 or 5 years. I'd say for now, in this uncertain period where paid doesn't come into any sort of AI overview results on Google, for example, we've got to keep doubling down on making sure that the spend that we put out on Google is actually on pieces of media that people are going to engage with and find useful in what they actually use Google for, which is finding answers to questions and discovery. And what is the best way of doing that? Having something engaging which has an image, a price, and all of the information you actually need to do to compare different sites and sources before clicking on the link, which ultimately is shopping. And the way what we're going to focus on is making sure that we are making that spend on shopping ads as incrementally valuable to advertisers as possible. So controlling what we're spending on brand searches, making sure we are not spending on brand through PMAX, especially for shopping, and letting Google run away with it, and controlling it in a separate shopping campaign instead. So there you go.
This is a very biased take because we run an agency, but I fundamentally believe that the rise of AI and the integration into the world of marketing is swinging the pendulum more in favor of agency service providers versus assembling teams in-house, because you have more data, you can derive more insights faster, and solely as like an individual, if there's a choice between insights that are hyper relevant and tailored to my area, my business and my sector versus a single source of truth, I'm going to go with someone who has a broader perspective and is able to aggregate those insights in a way that helps me improve my ROI. So I think the pendulum is swinging more towards agency and will continue to over time. I'm very willing to be challenged on that.
Yeah, I guess having worked in-house and agency side, I think it's really interesting, this relationship. And the thing I really noticed moving in-house from having been in an agency is you don't know what good looks like suddenly. If you've only ever worked in-house, you've only ever worked on maybe 3-4 businesses and run their ads for them. So you don't really have like your benchmarking across industries and verticals and even within your category is pretty weak. And so I think your point there about actually having data of other people in a similar space, what good looks like, understanding where you can improve, and then using that data to like actually build predictive models which can actually help your business is really, really interesting. But then a really successful agency brand relationship comes from having like someone very like exceptional in-house who actually truly understands how like the marketing mix should work for that specific business. So you've got this balance of needing a broader perspective, but also having someone who can execute a strategy for a business, for that specific business model in that specific category, and take and synthesize those insights and then apply them effectively to the business to actually get the results you want. So I don't think it's a case of, yeah, you can just outsource everything. You always need that person there to be very specific, but they've got to be, but then provide them with the tools that you get via an agency to execute quickly and efficiently without having the overheads baked into your business because of automation, all that sort of stuff, and then provide those like broader insights to really help like actually improve performance for you and efficiency.
It's a really hard link to get right, is the gap between data to execution to actually getting that past someone on the brand side as well. So it's having the right people in each three of those stages to actually make sure we can deploy the data. And that gets me onto the thing, I guess, something that agencies, yes, we do have all of this data across a wide client set. How do we deploy that in a way that is suitable for different verticals, but also anonymized that in a way that, yes, we're providing benefit to our clients without actually, breaching privacy as well.
I think the number of ways that you can do it, but that is the big question. How do you provide a brand synthesized, consolidated insights without compromising integrity from other partners that you're working with? Tough. And I've got a couple of thoughts on it. We don't need to go into it right now, but I fundamentally believe agencies are going to, and particularly those who are able to be strategic and aggregate data and derive insights to improve ROI for brands, are really going to come out top, and the rest are just going to fail to exist.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this hybrid model, I think, is going to be the reality of it. Like, you do still need some skilled operators to own, like, basically sell ideas internally to actually like push cool things over the line. So when you're coming in with new tech, new ideas, new ways of viewing attribution as an example, right? You've got to win over the CFO who actually signs off the budget to enable you to do the big awareness campaign, of which you can now prove the value because you've got this cool agency with some really good tech that they can do that with. So it's like, it's like you're never going to have an agency that can hold, like, you're rarely going to find yourself in this position as an agency where you hold that level of like authority within a business, because you're always seen as an external partner. But how does an e-com brand make use of this, like, but everything from developers through to media buyers to strategists, like creative production, how can you tap into that broader piece in a really cost-effective way that actually really improves the efficiency of how you put your budget away? And then someone to actually pull that all together and make sure it's driving business value, and then actually, make it all work. I think it's going to be that getting that balance right is actually what's always made an e-commerce business work from a marketing perspective, but it's just like even more important going forward now.
Yeah, just a final tack onto this as well is like, when more and more businesses have more access to data, which we will, anonymized or otherwise, the quality of the questions that you ask become more important. It becomes actually quite dangerous to contract or work with, to ask the wrong questions of the data leads you down the wrong rabbit hole. And so it becomes even more important to be strategic and integrated with the business, to really understand the business's aim so that you can ask the right questions of your data to help form your roadmap strategically in a way that actually is correct, for lack of a better phrase. So strategy, very important. The ability to synthesize data, very important. And following that data down the right way. I
guess to round off the AI chat, it's becoming better prompt makers, not only with AI, but also what we're asking of the data sets that we can manipulate internally as well.